Hi, my name's Bev Busson. I served in the force for 33 years. Started in 1974 with the first class of women in the RCMP and was honored enough to retire as the commissioner in 2007.
Hi, I'm Sharon Woodburn, Assistant Commissioner here in BC. I'm the HRO, or Human Resources Officer. I have almost 28 years of service and I'm from Ottawa, Ontario.
Hi, I'm Corporal Dee Stewart and I work in Aboriginal Policing Section. I joined the RCMP in 2000 and I'm originally from Bonaparte Reserve, so I'm actually Shuswap Okanagan.
My name is Carol Bradley. I'm a superintendent and I'm the officer in charge of E-Division Respectful Workplace Program. I have almost 29 years service complete in the RCMP. I'm originally from BC, from Victoria, British Columbia.
Hi, my name is Staff Sergeant Nav Hoffey. I've been with the RCMP for 17 years. I've been with the Forensic Identification Section of the RCMP for 13 years. I originally grew up in Merritt, BC.
Ok, je suis Staff Sergent Sandra Lavallée. Je suis en charge de la section des polygraphes, donc détecteurs de mensonges pour la Colombie-Britannique. Hi, I'm Staff Sergeant Sandra Lavallée, and I'm in charge of the polygraph unit in British Columbia. I'm from Sorel, Quebec, and I have 18 years of service.
My name's Michelle Adrians. I am a patrol supervisor with the Surrey RCMP. I am a corporal. I work with the Lower Mainland District Integrated Tactical Troop. I grew up in Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario. I joined the RCMP in 1996. I have 18 years of service. I've been with the Tactical Troop since 2002.
My name is Janice Gray. I'm an inspector with the Lower Mainland District and I'm the Assistant Operations Officer. I have 27 years service and I'm originally from Belleville, Ontario.
Hi, I'm Jackie Matt and I work at the Toxicology Section in the RCMP Forensic Lab. I've been with Toxicology Services for 12 years.
Yes, I'm a forensic toxicologist, but I'm also an auxiliary constable with the RCMP. I've been an auxiliary constable for almost as long as I've been in forensic toxicology. I was born and raised in Regina, Saskatchewan, actually.
I'm from Nova Scotia. I was just graduating from Teachers College in May of 1974, which historically and surprisingly to me was the year that the force announced that they were taking women. And for me it was like a lightning bolt that the announcement was made. I'd been excited about my teaching career, but when the moment that the news was made that women were being accepted as regular members in the RCMP, I just felt like that was something I needed to do. So actually on that very day I applied for the force. About 8:15 in the morning, on my way to my summer job from Teachers College, I went into the Dartmouth detachment and asked for an application form.
My first posting was Seashelt, BC, on the Sunshine Coast, and I was the first female police officer that had ever been stationed there, so it was kind of interesting when the first week I got there, they had a newspaper article, I guess at the same time, the first ever minister from the church was a female there as well. So they put us together in an article and kind of announced to the community that they had these two firsts in females, so that was nice. It was a nice welcome to the community.
My first posting in Prince Rupert, I was very nervous the very first day and realized that it was a high population of First Nations. I found out through then that there was a section called the Aboriginal Policing Section that would allow me to work within First Nations my entire career if I wanted to. And that was where my love of the RCMP came from. I definitely knew that that was a job for me.
My first posting out of training was to Thetford Mines, Quebec. I was the only female member to ever have gone to Thetford Mines. I also was an Anglophone girl from the other side of the country. One memorable experience that I had on one of the very first files that we worked on, which we did a lot of drug enforcement at the time, is we were in a home where we executed a search warrant and we found a small quantity of drugs, of marijuana, and it was my task to try and take a statement from the very cooperative suspect who helped me write it. He was very helpful, kept leaning across the table, correcting my spelling, and basically wrote his own statement so that to give me a hand. So that was the way the people in Thetford Mines were towards me.
My very first posting was to Surrey Detachment. I met my trainer on the very first day, who was a young, attractive female, even slightly shorter than me. I learned so much from her. Mostly, she taught me that I didn't have to be one of the guys, that being me was enough to do the job, and she was right. My first day was overwhelming, and I knew that the decision I'd made to join the police force was the right one.
I've been a polygraph examiner for 7 years. My parents were very proud when they heard that I had made it through the process to become a polygraph examiner, and even more so for them to know that I was in fact the first female polygraph examiner in the RCMP. 7 years ago when I started, I realized that I had totally made the right choice, as a career path for myself. I recall this gentleman. He had been accused of sexually abusing his sons, and he'd come and taken obviously his polygraph examination with me, and at the end of the 3 hours I told him that he had passed his test. And he hugged me, he started crying, and then he couldn't stop crying. Finally that he could get to see his son again, right? Some of the damage, to his reputation sometimes never comes back. But that was a moment that was really, satisfying.
One of the things that makes me most proud and gives me so much satisfaction is being able to do a school talk at my daughter's elementary school, or showing up at her brownies class. Being able to be a role model to those young girls and answer their questions, all sorts of questions they ask about what I do, it really drives home how important it is to be a positive role model to young women.
My first posting was Wesleyville, Newfoundland. It was a 3-person post. I was the first female member to ever be posted there. Initially, when I went to Newfoundland, I was told, of course, that it was bad luck to have a woman on their boat, so that presented some significant challenges for me in my day-to-day work, as I was in a very small post where I was surrounded by harbors and boats. I think the most significant or memorable would be from my time as an undercover operator. Really challenging, but really life-altering experiences when it came to the kinds of files that we worked on. As well as my time, all my operational time, but again with the integrated child exploitation team, that was a really significant part of my career.
Well, I've always wanted to have a positive impact on youth and with kids, and of course I'm interested in police work, but I figured becoming a DARE officer was really what drew me to becoming an auxiliary constable.
I'm proud to be
part of the last
40 years, and
I'm very proud to be a First Nations female in the RCMP.
Je suis fière d'avoir apporté ma contribution pour ces 40 dernières années.
And I'm very much
Looking forward to the future.
It's a matter of personal pride for me to have been a member of the first troop of females in the RCMP. I'm so proud of all the work and sacrifice that the members are making and will continue to make far into the future.